Hello everyone, this is Nimish and today we're going to review the movie Kahaani 2 starring Arjun Rampal, Vidya, Balan and directed by Sujoy Ghosh who also directed the first part of Kahaani. I'd quickly like to speak about Kahaani Part 1 here. I watched this movie long ago. It is one of the biggest hits of that year and of Indian cinema, and everyone loves that movie. But personally, I had felt cheated when I watched Kahaani 1, and the reason is that I didn't like the revelation of the suspense and the way it was told to us because I felt like the director misguided the audience. And if from what I remember of the screening in Mumbai where I watched it, and once we finished the movie, the whole crowd, which was a houseful crowd, was not really impressed. Everyone was quiet, shaking their heads, and it wasn't the feeling of watching Kahaani the way the big hit that it was, the way that it became popular. I think everyone felt underwhelmed, and there were two reasons for this. Firstly, in Kahaani 1, if you remember, they misguided the audience in the flashbacks by showing the actor, her husband, as one actor, whereas in the suspense, they changed that face and they changed that person and tell us that, it wasn't that guy, it's someone completely different. Now, there may be a couple of logical reasons why this was done, but I don't think it's the right way to go about suspense movies in order to misguide an audience. That's like if you're making a murder mystery, you show the murder, you show the face of the person, and then in the end, just because you have to reveal a suspense, you change the face and say, that's not it, man, that's not it, you watch someone else in all the movie and we just showed you to misguide that to you, or we just showed you because of certain angles, but that's not the man who killed it, that was just an image we showed you. And that's how I felt in Kahaani 1, that they showed an image or an actor playing the husband all through the movie, and then the actor who plays the husband suddenly changes in the end, and I felt completely misguided and completely disrespected as an audience as to why are you misguiding us in such a way. Secondly, the second twist in Kahaani 1 about her not being pregnant at all again felt a little forced to me. I honestly felt like, okay, she's not pregnant, but why? Like, why do you need those angles, and why did it have to be so forced? I mean, it could have gone in so many different ways and become a much more intelligent suspense. But nevertheless, Kahaani 1 was a huge hit. 80% of the movie built up the suspense in a very brilliant way. There were many beautiful characters, many multi-layered stories going on and subplots going on. And it was an extremely interesting investigative thriller mystery where we were wondering what's going to happen. The suspense was built up. So 80% of the movie was brilliant, and it deserves all the success for the hit it is, for the different kind of storytelling, for the capturing Calcutta in a beautiful way. Anyone deserves its success, definitely, and it definitely was an overall a very good and interesting film to watch. But Kahaani 2 is nothing but a cash cow. It is nothing to do with Kahaani 1. It is just titled the same because the team is the same and they want to franchise it and make more money out of sequels. And speaking about sequels, I'm going to bring up a list very soon about the sequels of 2016, of which none have done well. And this just basically, the director, the producers wanted to cash in on the name Kahaani. They made Kahaani 2, which has nothing to do with it. Now let's get into the review of Kahaani 2 itself. On the acting front, Vidya, Balan, Arjun Rampal are just fine. They are usually, we know they are good actors. We know they have their strengths and they are playing to their strengths. They are playing their regular parts, and there's nothing extraordinarily impressive about their acting. Neither is it terribly bad. It's just what it's supposed to be, and there's nothing super great about it. It's average. The storytelling is as straight as possible. I mean, that's the last thing you would expect in Kahaani 2, that the movie is so simple, straightforward, absolutely predictable, and even the twists and turns that come are either predictable or cliched. I think that the ups and downs in the script, first of all, was ruined by the trailer, which reveals many of the important plot points or important plot turns. The scene where she crashes into the car, the scene where the girl jumps off the roof is all shown to us in the trailer. So when it actually happens in the movie, you don't really feel very excited or impressed because you're expecting it to happen. You're like, oh wait, this is the scene from the trailer where she's gonna do this, or this is the scene where that's gonna happen. And so they've shown us so much in the trailer that the ups and downs in the normal progression of the first half gets ruined completely. The second half stagnates in its place. At least the first half progresses and tells us some kind of story, but the second half stagnates. It remains where it is. nothing happens for the longest time. It's just like everything is going around in circles and staying in the same spot. The story does not move forward. And then when it does move a little forward and the suspense is revealed to us, it is so cliched and so predictable, because in many scenes in the second half, it is clearly visible that this is something wrong. Something's wrong with this scene. This is not a natural progression of the movies. This is really stupid. This is really out of the ordinary, and something is fishy in this scene. And that's what we feel. And I feel that the audience has evolved over the years, ever since Kahaani 1 was released. And today they're not going to accept Kahaani 2, because the story is so straightforward, so predictable. The performances are great, but performances can't save a bad script or a straight script or a predictable script. So I feel that in terms of direction, this movie is very predictable, so that the audience, all of us, can clearly see that something is fishy. And when the suspense comes, we are completely not impressed by what's going on in the movie, because we're like, oh god, not this kind of twist again, kind of thing. So overall, Kahaani is not at all well written in any way. I have no idea why they would have not spent quality time and effort making a really, really nice script. Either they thought that the audience has not matured over the years and we have remained the same as we were 10, 15 years back, or even at the point where Kahaani 1 released, where they could have, gone in the same type of fashion of writing and probably fooled us, or probably tried to fool us even today. But that's not true. The audience has evolved a whole lot, and the writing needs to improve. So I think that they misjudged the audience in the first place, because we watched too many suspense thrillers in the past 10 years. So for us, for a suspense thriller to be really, really out of the ordinary like Kahaani was, it has to be at that level of writing. Secondly, even if you just look at this as a completely different film, one of the reasons that I say this is because Rock On 2, which released recently and failed miserably, people say it's because of demonetization, but I don't agree, because it was a good film. It was a decently crafted film, but the biggest problem is that it was titled Rock On 2. It shouldn't have been titled Rock On 2. It should have been approached as a completely different movie, reinventing the characters, making new characters, and in that sense, that movie would have got a little more success. But because it was called Rock On 2, people had a different expectation, and the movie came at this certain time and it was not at all as per expected. It was completely different, and so it didn't work, although it was a good movie, a decent movie to watch at least once. Similarly, Kahaani 2, if it was named something different, there would have been a curiosity level much higher than current in the audience. There was absolutely no hype about this movie. People were just like, oh, okay, Kahaani 2 is releasing. Not like, oh my god, Kahaani 2 is releasing, or anything like that. And I think that the buzz would have been better if it was titled something else, and even the acceptance level might have been better if it was named something else. So looking at it as not a Kahaani version or not a Kahaani movie, just like any other movie, which you go in with no expectations. In that sense, also the first half is pretty progressive. It tells a decent story, although it's straightforward. But the second half just does not live up to the mark. So whether it's Kahaani 2 or whether it's a normal movie that would have been released, this movie fails at the writing level. And so there's nothing that the actors can do to save the movie. There's nothing that even the director could possibly help and convert, and the editing or the technicals could help convert in this movie. So there it's because it's very restricted. The writing is very restricted, and there's only so much you can do with it. And so I think they really should have worked on the writing. So if a movie can be better, my rating scale says that it gets a 2-star, and definitely Kahaani 2 could have been much, much, much better, because it showed promise in certain parts and then it just fell flat out on its face. So I'm going with 2 stars for Kahaani 2. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and keep watching.